Hello my dear friends, this is AK here, and today I decided to open up a new video series to analyze different creatures, specifically dinosaurs, from a variety of video games. And I thought, what a wonderful way to start if we were to look at the T-Rex from Dinocrisis 1 and 2. So let's have a go at it. Hope you enjoy it. So, let's bring up the screen where it gives all of these different specifications. So, they got the meaning correct. Tyrant Lizard King, that's exactly what it means from the, if you translate the Tyrannosaurus Rex. As for the length and height, no, that is a completely different story. You see, they give it the length of 14.5 meters and the height of 4.8 meters. With the length, it's very clear that there is no Tyrannosaurus Rex currently known from the most complete specimens, or even nearly completed ones, who have very reasonable estimates to even exceed 13. A specimen in Chicago Field Museum called Sioux is estimated to be measured from around 12.3 to sometimes given as 12.8 meters, and I would say if we were to take a very highest peak value and give it the top possible, I would say no more than 13 meters. This is the most realistic, in my opinion, what would basically a T-Rex at the moment that we know would be in length. The longest one, that is. Now, the next point about the height. The height, they don't actually clarify which point do they use to measure the height. Normally the heights are measured at hips, and again, based on the largest Tyrannosaurus specimen, Sioux, we know that they have recorded the height at 3.66 meters. That is 3 meters and 66 centimeters. Exactly. Although these estimates could vary depending on the reconstructions, but given how the skeleton is nearly complete and very well preserved overall, we can pretty much trust that measurement, at least until further studies will reveal something else. So let's take a look at the anatomy. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm only going to go, just trying to scratch the surfaces more or less, just to give ideas. By the way, apologies for any background noises. Try to ignore them if you can, in case you hear them. Basically, the skull. It's a very important part to reconstruct when you are doing something like anatomy. And to make it more immersive and convincing, it's important to get it right. So, first thing I notice on the skull is the fenestras or fenistras. I'm probably butchering the term. They should not be visible. While here you can see that they are absolutely like drawn out, and this happens in both of the drawn, maybe it's like a concept art images, so both of them have that featured, and the same is very well seen in the actual gameplay model of the dinosaur. So that is definitely incorrect. Now the other part that's obviously quite off is the eyebrows, the eye sockets basically, or the eyebrows, whichever way you like to call them. But you know what I mean, these particular structures right above the eyes, they are mostly heavily inspired, as you can tell, by the design from Jurassic Park, which we know is not really correct, because that's not how the eyebrows actually look, and the best way to look at them is compare all the variety of these different skeletal remains, fossils obviously, and you will see that most of them, they have a somewhat different kind of reconstruction when it comes to the eyebrows in particular. Now, the next thing obviously I wanted to point out is the teeth. They should vary in sizes. Over here you can see that they've been pretty much copied and pasted all the way around, and that is obviously completely incorrect. The other part of the skull I would like to take, bring into attention is that the snout, the tip of the snout itself, should be maybe a little bit narrower, but the back of the head, and that is the most notable feature of Tyrannosaurus, should be wider, to the point that the eyes would be facing somewhat forward to provide it with the well-known and the only one known from all the large theropods to have binocular vision, where the eyes are actually able to look and face forward without having to tilt on a side when it moves and tries to gain visual perspective. So therefore the skull reconstruction here so far is completely incorrect. Now, the front limbs, while they are quite, as far as I can say, quite okay in terms of the size proportion, however, I am obviously going to nitpick at first. They're too skinny, while there have been studies of the limbs before, and we know already by now that they were a lot more muscular than that. To be perfectly fair, it's not just that, it's the fact that you can see from the concept art at least that they look like they're just skin and bones. They don't actually have any muscle attached to it, which is obviously incorrect. While one other thing to notice, as far as the front limbs are concerned, is the orientation of the digits. The digit claws should be facing inwards rather than downwards. However, because of the game being done a long time ago, I don't believe that this study has actually been properly performed at that time, although I could be wrong on that as well. And as for the legs, I am personally quite happy with the legs. However, I would obviously try to blend the musculature a bit more in, especially at the rear part of the tail, as it kind of should sort of be a part of some of the tail muscles too, to allow for nice coordination and movement, to kind of make it all, synchronize better. But I do not see it as a major, huge issue, but it is an issue nevertheless. And for some people, it might actually be a big issue. So that is, I would still say that that's incorrect, but it's not as noticeable as I think many of the other previous features that I have described. So let's just say that it is wrong, but it's not absolutely unbearably wrong, but still wrong. And that is done with this part. Now the tail, I would say that the concept art somewhat has a different look at the tail. One of them shows the completely sort of folded / bended whatever tail, which I do not believe is possible, but the other concept art shows a straighter tail, and the in-game, most of the time you see the tail is being held straight and parallel to the ground, which I believe is actually accurate. So that's a good point, definitely. As far as the integument goes, then from what we can tell, based on the evidence that we know of the scaly skin that we have found from a collective of different specimens from different parts of the body as well, and I can tell you that this looks like it is actually correct. So for the time when it was reconstructed, it looks spot on. So I have no issues with the integument whatsoever. It's perfectly consistent with all the evidence that we have and does not break any patterns as far as the evolutionary developmental parts are concerned. So we're good to go. So let's move on to the next point, which I think I will cover right here as well, the choice of color. The color, it's impossible to test as far as the Tyrannosaurus Rex goes itself. What I will say is that their choice, I find, is quite plausible, simply because it fits very well with the environment where it lived. This kind of yellowish, greenish / brownish beige mix and combination is definitely something that could provide to be useful in the environment where the real Tyrannosaurus Rex lived, and also it actually shows quite a good, use for it in the current environment of the game that has been presented in the gameplay itself. So although we do see it appearing in the cities, but mainly we are shown the T-Rex in the jungle. So this would fit perfectly well as far as I'm concerned. Now I am going to address various points from this part of the text that was supplied for the Dino file, which you can find in the Dinocrisis 2 gameplay. So when you collect all the Dino files, you basically get these bonuses, I think, at the end of the game. But the point is, they give you the info about each creature, and I decided that I want to address them one by one in this sort of manner. So they say that it's, let us have a look actually. It says that they were the largest land carnivores of this Cretaceous world. I would not really agree. They were among the largest, but I don't think we can really say they were the largest. As far as the Cretaceous period overall is concerned, let's actually take examples such as Giganotosaurus or Carcharodontosaurus or Spinosaurus. So of course some of their skeletals are so sparse we cannot actually give any good measurements of what their real life sizes restorations would be, but we can definitely say that they could easily be the same size league as Tyrannosaurus. Probably not larger, probably about the same, but just maybe with a variety of difference in proportions and as far as the mass concentration on the body parts is concerned. I hope that makes sense. Now to address the other part of this, they say that basically they are constantly on a hunt. Well, I do not think I would agree with that. First of all, we know that many predators which were, they were able to, once they hunt, they were able to eat their full and actually sustain themselves for quite a long period of time before they have to hunt once again. So I would not say that they would need to constantly be hunting and like they describe them, not to mention their savageness. I do not think that is a very good way to describe an animal. So it's clearly they're just trying to emphasize a few of the, exaggerations that are commonly assumed by people and just make them look like they are monsters because that makes it more fun for you to shoot them when you're playing the game. However, if we are analyzing the real Tyrannosaurus Rex, we would probably be quite close to the real, to the real thing, as in the truth behind its hunting, that once it ate its full, it probably could sustain itself long enough for a relatively long period without having to constantly hunt without a stop. So we can definitely say that's not a correct point. Now, the next point that I would like to address, they say that after making the top of their prey, they will finish it with a lethal bite. That is actually quite possible, still debatable because we don't really know the exact mechanics and tactics, but there is a way that we can really think of how many ways they could get to that point where they are on top of the prey, quoting them, and when they finish it off with a lethal bite. I personally am in favor of the idea that they would probably get a good grip in around the neck somewhere, and once the grip is solid enough, they will either, if it allows them to, try to strangle the prey just by applying a lot of pressure because their jaws are able to exert a lot of force, and perhaps maybe alternatively, once they have a good solid grip, they could try to break the neck to make the fight finish as soon as possible, because the longer they have to fight the prey, and that means they get tired, which means that their chances of making a successful kill would drastically start decreasing, because a lot of the prey could potentially be very strong, but of course it would vary based on the age, size, and the health, overall health state of the prey that they are targeting. But we do know that prey animals are no wimps. They could put up a good fight. Now, going down in the list, let's see what else are they saying. Well, they say that they have no real weakness. Well, again, this is a very typical sort of way of them to say, just, emphasize how powerful it is as far as the game goes. However, if you look at the variety of weapons that you use in this game, I can already tell you those weapons that they claim cannot harm or kill a T-Rex are actually very much capable of killing a real T-Rex, I can almost assure you. If you feed it with enough bullets in the right spots at the right time, I'm almost certain eventually it's going to succumb to wounds at least and die, if not die instantly, if fatally wounded into the eye, maybe by a very strong shot of a heavy kind of caliber gun of some sort, rifle, maybe something else. I definitely know for sure that if you were to shoot it with a bazooka, regardless of which part of the body it's gonna hit, it will kill it almost instantly. Not like this one here, where it gets hit in the eye and it just gets more angry and starts trashing everything around. That is not how it would work in real life at all. So that is absolutely a myth. And thus, I thought, although we all know it, but I thought, why not to try and debunk that as well, since we are at it, so why not? So, now, one funny point at the very end, I really like that actually, because with the Jurassic World being released as of late, this makes this particular part rather very interesting. Rumor has it that there was one person who escaped from the implacable T-Rex chase. She was not a soldier, but simply an intelligent personnel, supposedly good-looking, about 20 years old. Now this is a very nice one. Who else do we know who was able to escape from a T-Rex, who is not a soldier, and not quite intelligence personnel, but it depends how you put it, and obviously very good looking and cute, although we do not know within that premise how old that person is exactly. Well, you guys know I'm talking about the very character from Jurassic World who used high heel shoes, unlike probably this girl, because we don't actually have any evidence of her using the high heels. However, I seriously doubt it given the environment in here. And those who played the game probably would know she was not wearing high heels. But we still see the parallel that both of them were good looking and were able to escape the T-Rex. So I dare say, JW, you're just recycling the old material and being cliche. Although that's not really a strong case, I'm just messing around, so ignore that. Or not, whatever. But anyways, that is all I have to say about this particular point, and I think that this will make a very interesting series overall. And if you really enjoyed this, please like the video. Please also support me on Patreon, and if you want to see more content. And also please let me know in the comments what other creature would you like me to break down. So once you make a comment, everybody else who agrees, just put as many thumbs up on that comment as possible. Don't put too many comments of the same type. If you see somebody else mentioning it, just thumbs up and you can leave a comment reply under that, but try to keep it all focused in one area so that it's much easier for myself to take a look at it and then see how many of you actually want to see that sort of thing. And thank you very much for watching. I will give all the appropriate links that I can think of regarding the papers in the description below, or at least mention their citations where appropriate as well, so that you can go and have a look at them as well. And thanks so much for watching once again, guys, and I will speak to you all very soon with my next Dinocrisis breakdown video. Bye now.